Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Live. Now, author, poet, and motivational speaker Bongani Zwane has recently released another book titled A Little Unlucky, rather. This is a collection of short stories with characters whose stories are reflecting those of real life experiences and lessons. And in this book, Bongani aims to help you through your shattered pieces, brokenness, and pain upon close scrutiny, and how this can propel all of us to be the best version of ourselves. The self-published author joins us now on Zoom to tell us more about his latest offering. Bongani Zwane, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Live. Tell us more about this book and why you decided to write it.
Good morning. Good morning to you. A Little Unlucky is a book I wrote because it has a lot of us. You know, it's a book for the people that was written by the people. I believe it's a book that depicts the stories of our lives, of our daily lives. You know, so that's why I wrote it. I think when I wrote it, I had a lot of things in my head, but I just thought, let me write a story that can resonate with everyone.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about the title.
Yes.
What is the significance of this beautiful title, A Little Unlucky?
A Little Unlucky is a community of unlucky people. So it's people that are brave. It's people that have gone through a lot in life. It's people that a common denominator that they all have is they lack a bit of luck in their lives. So there's things that befall them, you know, either a rape happens, either a beating happens at some point, either their house burns down at some point, you know. So it's just a community of unlucky people that have this common denominator, which I call a lack of luck, basically.
Mm-hmm. Take us through
Yes.
how this book explores themes of heroism and hope and love.
Yes, there's a story called Possessed in the book. It's about a little girl who grows up, who loves, who's full of life, passion, you know, and she grows up and she goes through a rough patch in her life. She finds herself, you know, losing her womanhood through the arms of a man that she trusted. You know, so later on in life, what I like about this girl is, broken as she was, hurt as she was, lost as she finds herself where she pulls herself back up again. You know, this is purely a story of hope, a story of saying, look, sometimes bad things befall us. Sometimes things that we did not plan for, they happen to us. But once they happen, it does not mean that life ends there, but it means that life continues. Life goes on. You know.
What other themes or social ills do you also address through this book?
I talk a bit or vastly about gender-based violence. I talk about mob justice in the book. I talk about fatherlessness in the book. You know, we often hear of people that have lost their fathers or that grew up without their fathers. So I talk about that. There's a bit of a story that has to do with me in the book. That's nonfiction, that looks at my life and how I was a present father, you know, but at one point I found myself having lost custody of my wife, my wife's daughter, you know, firstborn daughter, you know. So then I talk about the fact that I was present in her life for about 11 years until later on the courts decided that I'm not her biological father, so I had no say in her life. So I talk about fatherlessness. I talk about fathers being present but losing their presence because of the law, because of how the law perceives us sometimes as fathers.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say that each and every one of us has a story to tell. I mean, tell us more about this and how this book can help us become better at telling our own stories.
I think with the vast stories that are in the book, what you'll find is there's a book that matches each and every one of us. You know, I wrote it from a boy who grew up from the township, from the boy who experienced gender-based violence at first hand. I wrote it from a man who grew up in the location, who has seen what mob justice can do, who has seen how it can uproot people's lives. You know, so I write these stories from that angle, from an angle of experience, from an angle of having seen these things. And I believe that somehow all of us are affected about these topics that are in the book. You know, that's why I feel it's a book of bravery, because a lot of readers that have read the book would say to me, you know what, I read the first chapter and I paused because it forced me to delve back deep into my past, you know, and it's a past that I had chosen to rather forget, you know, but the book made me to face my past head on. That's why I'm saying it's a story for everyone. We all have a story to tell, and our story matches the stories that are being narrated in the book, A Little Unlucky.
Mm-hmm. Why is it important that people face their past and deal with it?
You know, in order to go forward, you must be able to. And who does not know where they come from, it's not easy for them to cut out a clear path as to where they are headed to in life. So sometimes our lives are shaped mostly by our upbringing. You know, so it's important for us to revisit how we grew up. It's important for us to revisit those topics that are rather that most of the time the community shuns away from. You know, we have a lot of issues that we are dealing with as a country. You know, there's bullying that's going on in the schools. There's gender-based violence. You know, there's crimes. There's a lot of things. There's brokenness in marriages, and when you take close scrutiny, you will realize that most of these things that are affecting us on a daily basis have a lot to do with how we grew up. Have a lot to do. The stories that we've been listening to all of our lives have somehow shaped our attitude. Have somehow shaped the people that we are.
Mm-hmm. Now, the book's been out for a while now. How has the response been from those who've read it?
Honestly, I'm loving the feedback that I'm getting from my readers. You know, because I'm not really a fiction writer, or how I got introduced into the world of writing is I wrote a book named My Burning Bush, which was a Christian book, you know. So, and then when I came back this time around, I wrote a fiction, you know. So a lot of people are quite amazed at the fact that I'm able to, I'm such a good storyteller, because I delve deep into these characters that the community of unlucky people, I always say they stay in my head. You know, so they always whisper to me, they say, tell my story, tell this person about what I've gone through, you know. So I'm loving the feedback, because the book has been doing so well, to be honest. And thank you for the opportunity today, you know, to actually let the world know that there is a book entitled A Little Unlucky that is a story for every one of us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're a self-published author and also offer publishing services for upcoming writers. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, we know the self-publishing conversations in this country, and we're far from getting it right. But what are you doing right?
You know, what I'm doing right, I believe, is using what I have. One. Number two is taking it one step at a time. A lot of times people would ask me, how did you come to write? I now have 4 books in total, and all of them are self-published. And they ask me, but how do you find these words? Where do you find the time? I always say, when you're doing what you used to doing, because you're not doing anything that is out of the ordinary. You know, I love words. I love words. I love poetry. I love writing. You know, so every little chance that I get, I sit down and I write my thoughts. You know, so self-publishing is very tricky. It's very hard, because what it means is you incur the costs of publishing. It means you do not get any assistance, financial assistance from anyone. It simply means for you to get yourself noticed, you need to get yourself noticed. You need to get yourself out there. You know, so it's a difficult journey. But I believe that as writers, when we come together, as authors, when we come together, I promote a lot of authors from all of my socials, and I've realized that a lot of authors promote my work as well. You know, so when you want to be an author, I believe you need to surround yourself with authors.
Yeah.
You need to surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are not afraid to dream, who are not afraid to make a change, who are not afraid to cause an impact in the world.
All right, Bongani, thank you so much for talking to us. Good luck on this journey of writing. Bongani Zwane unpacking his latest book titled A Little Unlucky. All right, quick ad break.